Hi everyone, my name is Mike Gershfine and I have a technology training company called Very Smart People, which is what that VSP stands for. And I teach throughout Chicagoland. This is my first time teaching at, maybe I put that in quotes, at your library, doing virtual class at your library. So glad to be here with you. A couple technical notes before I start. First of all, so yesterday, I imagine you've been going through the same thing. Yesterday, I lost my power for 1 minute, came back on after a minute, everything reconnected, I survived. I'm just telling you that to let you know that I am dependent upon my technology like all of you. And until we're back in person, if I lose a power line or power for whatever random reason, just try to stay put, or if I get kicked off, try to stay put, and I'll hop back on as quickly as I can. None of you can, by the way, none of you can unmute yourselves. At the end of the class, I'll go ahead and make it so that you can unmute yourselves. But I've got the chat room over to my right. You'll see that I keep looking to my right. I've got my notes there. I've got the chat room there. So feel free to put questions in the chat room, or if anything goes wrong and you've been listening to me talk for the last 2 minutes and you can't hear anything I'm saying because my audio is messed up, feel free to put it there, although actually it's probably your audio that's messed up because I know that you can hear me. Anyway, I'll go ahead and put my name in the chat room. Yep, the right keyboard, I'll put my name in the chat room. And my email is mike@vspchicago.com. I know the library will be putting this video up for a month or so, but if you don't want to sit through an hour and 15 minutes again of me talking, I'm happy to send you my slides. Just send an email to mike@vspchicago.com and I will get them to you in sometime in the next couple of days. All right, so let's talk about selling. A lot of people will do selling classes as how to sell on eBay, which is certainly a very good place to sell your stuff. It's one of the older ones. It's definitely not the oldest one, or it is one of the oldest ones, but it's not always the best one for all circumstances. These days it's well, I mean, I don't have to tell you about COVID and the Delta and all that stuff, but it seemed like garage sales were kind of picking up for a little bit. And now I'm not seeing a whole lot of garage sales happening anymore. But honestly, even if garage sales were happening, we've got the internet in front of us, worldwide garage sale to sell to. Now, my mother enjoys having 3-day-long garage sales so she can meet the entire neighborhood and enjoy people coming up to her and offering her $1 for that couch she has priced for 50. So, that option, I guess, is always out there. But if you're like me and you just want to sell your stuff, there are a lot of good options, and there are a lot of good options out there for you to sell online. And I'm going to go ahead and show you my slides and we'll walk through them. In a moment, hold on. Okay. But yeah, we've got a world of selling stuff. The nice thing too is once you have a world open to you, a virtual world selling stuff, it's really easy to get the quirky or the unique stuff in front of the people who really want it, or even stuff like pans, the lids of pans that don't match anything anymore, or leftover art supplies. My son, I just got back on Saturday from driving my son to college, and it's his first year there. And so I figured since he's in college, I probably should get rid of all the old art supplies that he hadn't used since he was 5. And I did that on one of my local selling sites. So no shortage of good options for there. Sorry, I'm going to make one more quick change. There we go. Let's take a look. So the main ones that I'll be talking about, really 4 of these I'll be mostly talking about. Now, I know there are other places to sell online. I'll mention a few of them at the end, and you may know other places to sell online as well. But these are the kind of the big ones. And as it is, this class pushes an hour and 15 minutes with me talking about these. So it won't be talking, and I'll be spending a lot of time talking about eBay, but I'll be going to a little bit of detail on Craigslist, on Facebook has two components. Actually, Facebook is getting to be one of my favorite places to sell now. I've got a couch. I ordered a new couch back in March, and they're finally delivering it in September. So my old couch, I'm going to be selling, and I'll probably be selling that on Facebook this time. I'll talk about why. Nextdoor is a nice option. Amazon, I always feel like I have to include Amazon just because Amazon is Amazon, but I don't talk a lot about Amazon because I don't love it as a place to sell, but I will talk about it for a moment, basically telling you probably don't want to use it. So one of the advantages of eBay is that it has many, many users. Everybody knows about eBay. It's been around a long, long time. It is a little more complicated to list than some of these other websites, and it is expensive to list stuff on eBay. I'm at the point now where for a lot of the stuff I list, I'll try to go to some free sites in order to list items. I may even list them a little bit cheaper on free sites because of how expensive eBay is. But then if they're not selling there, then I'll go onto eBay and I'll list on eBay and let eBay take its cut. Now, Craigslist has been around a long, long time as well. So a lot of people do know Craigslist. It is mostly free to list on it. And Craigslist is I see Craigslist as the replacement for these classifieds that used to exist in your paper. I don't know what's left in the paper anymore. I don't think there's anything in the paper anymore, but Craigslist is very kind of local, getting your stuff to, one of classifieds, kind of a garage sale type thing, getting it to people in the neighborhood, or at least in Chicago land. It is well known. The site is pretty ugly. The site looks like it did 10, 15 years ago. They haven't done a lot of updates. Looks like how Yahoo used to look. They only recently got an app for it. Everything is an app now, but only recently did Craigslist come out with an app. It has a reputation for sketchy buyers, and we can kind of talk about that a little bit later when we talk about Craigslist. Now, Facebook is free. You do have to be a member of Facebook, and whenever I teach this class, I get people who don't want to be a member of Facebook. Just fine. You don't have to be a member of Facebook if you don't want to. But if you want to use Facebook Marketplace, then you would need to join Facebook. There are also marketplaces, kind of their local selling to people in your neighborhood. They also have niche groups that you can sell in, and those are really useful if you have a collection and you're trying to get that collection of stuff in front of people. So in my case, for example, I collect movies and Blu-rays, and occasionally I sell those. So if I want to get them in front of other collectors, Facebook is a great place to do it. It is newer. A lot of people don't know about Facebook. A lot of people don't know about Facebook Marketplace, despite the fact that there's over 2.5 billion people on Facebook worldwide. Not everybody knows about this feature, but I think it's a good place to sell. Nextdoor is a free, kind of a local Facebook. It really is a neighborhoody type thing. And it has a trustworthy reputation, which we can kind of talk about a little bit later. But your exposure is a little more limited when you're using Nextdoor, because you're really getting your neighbors. That's really that garage sale-y type of feel. Amazon is Amazon. Tons of users. Both Amazon and eBay are indexed by Google. So if you had something up on Amazon, you had something up on eBay, then people might be able to find it on Google. Amazon isn't very transparent as far as its pricing. It's difficult to price, and it's expensive and fairly complicated to list. So overall, I don't recommend it. By the way, I'll also mention this slide that if any of you have kind of businesses on the side where you sell a lot of stuff, antiques, or you want to use these as a storefront, something like that, they exist. Both eBay and Amazon, a lot of kind of small stores or people doing business will use them as storefronts. I'm not really going to talk about that, and a lot of the rules are different if you're doing that type of thing. A lot of the pricing is different. I think the numbers, like if you sell over 50 items a month on eBay, then the pricing gets to be different. So I'm not really going to talk about that, other than pointing out that is there as an option for you if you're looking to sell kind of your own little business. A lot of people do it. Okay, so let's start out by talking about eBay. eBay, you want to sell something to the world, you can do it on eBay. You want to sell it to somebody in the US, or they even have local pickup. A lot of people don't realize that. If you really wanted to, you could have somebody either meet somebody somewhere local or have somebody pick it up. Typically you'll think about this as far as selling a car or something like that, unless it's something very unique, and you'll want to do it with a local pickup. You're probably not going to ship it You can, but you can sell globally. My wife, she had some hip surgery, and she sold her leg brace. I think she had it listed for like $15, and the thing was a huge package, and people from the UK wanted to buy it, and the shipping would have cost more than the actual product itself. But if you want to, you can list things that they're listed globally. People will sell new stuff on eBay, sell used stuff. Now, what about collectibles? You know, I always get questions on collectibles, and I'm always very cautious with the idea of selling collectibles on any of these sites, because you do need to make sure that those collectibles, that they are legitimately what you say they are. So you need to have some type of proof that signed baseball card, Mickey Mantle card, or whatever is actually signed by that person, or you know, that painting is an original. So you do have to be careful with that. A lot of times, I mean, my feeling is with collectibles, I kind of lean towards doing an antique dealer or a specialty dealer. And actually, for some of that stuff, there are places where you can get them officially listed. They can confirm that they are what you're saying that they are, or they're signed by who you say they are. But basically, you need, the gist of this is you need to be careful when you list things like antiques and collectibles on any of these sites, because of that. You do need to make sure that they're legitimate and that you can prove that they're legitimate. You can list cars as well on eBay. A lot of that is going on now. The way the pricing works on eBay is that it's free to list. So you can list anything you want, and if it doesn't sell, you don't have to pay anything. The only thing that you pay for with eBay is what's called the final value fee. So when that item finally sells, eBay takes a cut, and most of the items are 12.55% of that final value, and then they add on 30 cents. So if you sell something, your beautiful old lamp, for $100, eBay will take a cut before you get your money of $12.85. Okay, which is a decent percent as far as kind of what they're taking. You're taking home $87 essentially of that $100 item that you sold. There is some other pricing. So, you know, I do sell movies, I do sell music, and for those, eBay takes 14.55% plus 30 cents. So a couple other things are priced differently, but most things are 12.55%. They have some other fees potentially based on various options that you do, and I'll touch on a couple of those. But that is the price that you're going to pay. Now, you may be ending up paying for packing supplies. Now, if you're smart and you know you're going to be selling, you know you're going to be doing a decent amount of selling, then you'll want to kind of collect boxes that you've accumulated over time, collect envelopes, you know, all the packing peanuts and that popping paper, all that stuff. Collect them, put them in your basement. You'll probably have to buy packing tape, but other than that, you know, hopefully you don't have to go and buy boxes. But you may end up having to buy the correct box for what you're shipping so that it fits. The word about sales tax is that you as a seller do not ever deal with sales tax. You don't know about sales tax. You don't ask for sales tax. eBay will collect sales tax when it's appropriate to do so in the state where the person has bought the item from you. So they'll get a bill and it will say sales tax, whatever, and eBay will collect that, and eBay will deal with the sales tax. I'm telling you this so you're aware of it, or if anybody ever asks you a question, it's nothing to do with you. It's all on eBay's end, and you don't have any contact with that. Now, if you've a couple of these things, by the way, have changed. If you ever tried selling in the past, eBay has kind of changed its pricing, so that final value fee has changed from where it was a couple of years ago, even a year ago. The other thing that has changed is that the way people pay. People used to have to pay by PayPal, but now people can pay a variety of ways to individual sellers. They can pay by PayPal, credit card, Apple Pay, and Google Pay. They go ahead and then they win the item, they buy the item, they pay it out, and you get that money directly to your checking account in 1 to 4 days. So when you're setting up your account for selling on eBay, you'll go ahead and say that you'll list your checking account, you'll link it, and then in 1 to 4 days, you'll get the money minus that final value fee. Now, most of the communication that you're doing with the buyers happen through the eBay site itself, which is good. You're not giving out your private email or your phone number or anything like that. If they have a question, you'll get an email from eBay, and eBay will refer you to a form where you can then answer their question, and then they'll get the question back. Or if there are any issues with buyers, problems, any of that stuff, you'll resolve it all through eBay. So eBay has a pretty good kind of built up mechanism for you to interact with people. And you can also offer reviews of the people who buy from you, so that if there's ever kind of any issues in the future, then eBay can look at the reviews of these buyers and say, oh, this person looks like they're trustworthy, or this person has had issues before, or there's a lot of positive reviews. Same thing with a seller. It's good to get these positive reviews from people who buy from you, just kind of to help you with any kind of future issues that you may have. So when you're listing an item on eBay, here's the things that you need to think about, you need to go through. You do need a title for the item, and that's a limit of 80 characters. And you can put in any keywords that you think are appropriate, multiple keywords, or if you're in advertising, you can come up with great ad copy for those 80 characters to entice people into that item. You can put up a longer description, which can be very, very long. And a lot of times what I'll do, especially for the types of things I'm selling, is if I'm doing something like selling a CD, I'll go into Amazon and they'll have a long description there, and I'll just copy that out of Amazon and paste that into my eBay description. So, you could go long or short, but certainly the more details you have, the better. And you can do up to 12 pictures, 12 photos. And with these photos, you do want to highlight both features and flaws. I know a lot of people don't necessarily want to show the crack in the thing that they're selling, but you sell it to this person and then they end up looking at it and there's an issue with it, then they're going to want their money back. So you do want to make sure that you show a picture of everything that you can in those 12 photos. Now, when you're listing an item, a lot of people think of eBay as an auction site, although I wouldn't be surprised if more people use it as buy it now, which is basically you list an item for a set price and it stays up there until somebody actually ends up buying it. But you could do it as an auction as well. So the way an auction works, you decide what price the bidding should start at. And a lot of people will start that at $0, just to kind of entice people in, because you're out there looking at an item in auction and it's starting at 0. Oh, great, I can go nab it. $5. I'm going to go steal it for $5. And ideally for you as a seller, that auction keeps going up and up and up. But from the buyer's perspective, that might be a decent way to entice them. But you could start the auctioning. You could start the bidding higher. You could start at 50 or 100. Now, the way that the auctions work on eBay, it's a little bit confusing once you see it for the first time, because if you put up an item and somebody bids $20 on it, the auction doesn't necessarily start at 20, starts at a lower price, but 20 ends up being their maximum bid. So eBay might price that item at $5. Somebody else could come in and bid. They see that the item is priced at $5. Somebody else could come in and bid 10. But since that first person set the maximum as 20, then the price of the item will go up to 10, but the first person who has the higher maximum will still be the high bidder. It isn't until somebody will come in and bid 25, for example, that then it will go over 20, and then that second person will now have a higher maximum. So when you go in and bid on an item on eBay, if you bid $100, eBay's still going to go ahead and kind of they'll treat that as a max, and they're going to price it at smaller intervals. It's a little bit confusing as a seller sometimes and as a buyer sometimes. So how should you price it? We'll talk about that in a little bit. You've got other stuff out there on eBay that people have listed, and that gives you kind of a guideline. I'll show you how how you can use that even better. Now, buy it now items they'll keep getting refreshed. They'll stay up there essentially as long as you want. So if you're not in a hurry with buy it now items, I've had stuff listed for months on eBay. Every once in a while, I'll go in there potentially and lower the price on some of these if I really want to get rid of it. But if I'm not in a hurry, if I'm sick of this big box that's sitting behind me in my office, then I'll go ahead potentially and price it a little bit lower. But if I'm willing to wait, I'll just let it sit there and hope that somebody comes in and gets it at some point. The auctions will last 7 days. If nobody buys it, you can restart the auction. You don't have to pay unless somebody ends up buying the item. They'll give you different options. You could do it for 10 days, for example, a couple other 1 day, 3 day. Most of the default is 7 days. Now, you can put out the option to accept the best offer. And in that case, what you're doing is you're saying that you'll listen to best offer. So if you list an item for $100, you say you're willing to listen to best offers, and you can set a limit, say $80, which means that if somebody offers you a best offer of 70, then you won't even see it as a seller. But if somebody offers you a best offer of 80, then you'll get an email from eBay saying somebody has offered you a best offer of $80. Do you want to accept it? Do you want to counter offer? Do you want to reject it or do nothing? So you've got these options. If you put something up for $100 and a couple of days later you get a best offer for $80, maybe you want to sit and wait and see if you can actually get the $100 that you're trying to do, or maybe you counter offer for 90 because you're okay with $90. Up to you how you want to do it, but you don't have to accept a best offer or even put that out there as an option. Now, another option for you as a seller is setting a reserve price. So in the case of a reserve price, the bidding on an item will not start until the bidding reaches that reserve price. So let's say you've got an item that you're hoping to get $100 for. You certainly don't want to get less than 50 for it. You can set a reserve price of $50 and start the bidding off at 0 to try to entice people. So somebody will come in, they'll bid $5 for it. The bidding on that item won't start because you have a reserve price of $50 set. Bid $10, bidding won't start. Bid $20, bidding won't start. Not until somebody goes ahead and bids that $50 will bidding on that item start. So if it's never reached, then that the bidding never becomes live. So the only catch with the reserve price is that it does cost money, whether the item sells or not, of either $5 or 7.5% of the reserve price, whichever is greater. So, your two options to try to get the money that you want in an auction format are to either set the opening bid higher, which is free. So you could have set the opening bid higher at $50, or set a reserve price, which will cost a few bucks. Now, the people who are bidding, they don't know that reserve price until they actually hit it, which is, they have to keep bidding in order to do it. Now, shipping, typically, the buyer will pay for shipping, but you can offer as a perk free shipping. You have to be careful because the way the shipping is priced depends on the type of thing you're selling, and we'll look at that a little bit later. But a lot of times if you're selling something, it's going to cost $20 to ship it to California versus $5 to ship it to Naperville. So typically the buyer will pay for shipping, and they'll get that final bill. It'll include the shipping cost, and then that will be transferred when you get paid out from eBay. That will be put into your account, and you'll have to go ahead. Often, most of the time, the way people do it, they'll get a notice saying that your item has sold and you got paid out, and or you got paid, and then click here in order to print out a shipping label. And so what a lot of people will do is just go ahead and use eBay to buy their shipping. You don't have to, you could do it at the post office, but it's kind of a nice automated thing where you'll go to eBay, you'll pay for shipping through whatever service you offered, which can be the postal service or FedEx or UPS, and print out the label, which is just basically a sheet of paper on your printer with a tracking number and a barcode and things like that. Cut it out, put it on your box, and take it to the post office. And a lot of times they'll have a bin there. This is all eBay sales and Amazon returns. 95% can toss it in the bin because it's already paid for and you got the label on it, and then just leave. So I'll show you a little bit of more about shipping. We look at eBay, which we'll do right now. Okay. Now, one thing to know as far as eBay goes is that if you have a shopping account on eBay, you don't need to set up any kind of separate selling account or anything on eBay. But you do need to have an account on eBay in order to sell, which will typically involve your name and your email. They might want a phone number. You'll have to link up your checking account to it, password, a few different things. Now, before I go ahead and list my item on eBay, I'm going to go ahead and try to get an idea of what's out there and how people are pricing it. I'm going to go ahead. This is the example I always start with on eBay because my wife collects it. Monex, pedalware, it's depression glass. I'm going to go ahead and search that and see what stuff is out there. This will help me in a number of ways. Will help me with pricing, first of all. So there's a bunch of stuff that comes up when I search Monex pedalware. This is all stuff that's listed on eBay. And that's a starting point. It's not a perfect starting point. I'll show you why in a second. But this is all stuff that's listed on eBay that maybe is similar to what I want to sell. So maybe these soup bowls, maybe that's, I was going to sell 2 of them. That'll give me a sense of what it's listed at. The problem with this, as far as pricing goes, is that this is what things are listed for on eBay, and it's not necessarily what things are selling for on eBay. So this is, this could be a really bad price for this item. It might have been up there for months and months because it's so overpriced. What you can do, and by the way, I'm doing this on the web. You can also use the app to do all this stuff, and the app is better for certain things. But what we can do is on both of them is we'll look on the left here, and if you go a little bit down, you can see show only sold items. So I'm going to change this to just showing me the items that were actually sold. And I can see here what people are paying for them. So in this case, this is actually a real price that these 4 items were up for auction and somebody bid $12.99 on them. These, wow, $280. Those must be fairly rare. 2 cups, 7 bids for 22, ended up going for $22.50. So you can go and see how much things actually sold for, and that'll give you more of kind of a real sense of what you can price these items at. Now, another nice reason to do that is because if you find that what you're selling is listed here, when you find that item, there's an option to sell one like this, and that will take you into the form that you need to fill out in order to sell an item, and it'll kind of pre-populate it with stuff. So if I've got one of these dishes, one of these butter plates, and I want to sell it too, I'm going to click sell one like this. I'll have to log into my account. And then it will give me a form that I fill out. And you see it's pre-populated. For example, here's the title, which I said is limited to 80 characters, and it pulls that in from that previous listing. I can change it. So, yeah, perfect condition. Yeah, ran out of letters. Perfect, exclamation point. You're not stuck with what, or maybe I'm selling two plates. You can go ahead and change that stuff. Now, all the forms have this item specific section, and this is different for every type of item you sell. So for example, you could see here that this is specific to basically I don't know, silverware or cookery or whatever they call this collection. If you're selling a car, it'll ask for mileage and all that type of stuff. Now I'm going to go ahead and you can see also that they fill out a little bit of the description. I'm going to go ahead and pretend that I did not click on that, sell something similar. I'm going to go to the main entryway for eBay and show you how you would do that form from scratch. In this case, I'll go ahead and click on sell, which is on the top here. On the app, it's also available, sell. You need to be logged into your account. If you're not logged in, then it will ask you to log in. List an item. I will go ahead and list an item. If your item has a barcode on it, once again, CD, I could enter the barcode, or a box with a barcode. You enter a barcode and that will find you stuff. Or you can just put in the words you're looking for, Monex pedalware. And they're going to choose a category for you. Like I said, these categories are different for all the things you sell, but in this case, they chose it's under the category pottery and glass, glassware, depression glass, Macbeth Evans, and petalware, but I could change that if I want to. I'll say view possible matches. This one is used. It's 100 years old, so it's probably been used. And then I'll get a form that I can fill out from scratch. So I can go ahead and say Monex petalware, soup, bowls, white, perfect condition. Some of these items under item specifics are required. So object type. I'll say bowl. Bowl. Then they'll give you other options that are, you can fill them out if you want to, type of glass, depression glass, but only a couple of things typically are required. And then we'll go ahead and add photos, and you can add up to 12. If they're on your computer, then you can add them from your computer. This is one place where I do like to use the app on the phone or your tablet, because you can snap a bunch of photos from your phone and add them that way. But I'm gonna go ahead in this case and add from my computer. Find them on my computer. Upload them there. And once again, you know, this could be a close-up of a flaw or something like that, which I could say in the description down here. So I copied the stuff that I came in with on the title up there, and I can, you know, say whatever other details I want. 2 soup bowls, perfect condition. One has been signed. I don't know, whatever you want. You know, you put in all the details in the description. Once again, you find another nice descriptor somewhere else, copy it from Amazon, copy it from wherever, and paste it in here. Then we get to the fun part, which is pricing. It's interesting. So eBay likes to recommend pricing, and it's almost always wrong. And one thing I find is they almost always recommend an auction format. I generally prefer doing a buy it now format because I kind of know what I want to get for items. This time they didn't, though. This time they didn't do an auction format. They recommended a buy it now format. Either way, here's the change. I almost never use eBay's recommendations on this, by the way. I find they're wrong. But I can click on this change button up here. And let me just go back and show you. You can do it as an auction. Once again, started at 99 cents, started at 0, whatever you want. Then there are more options below, including a reserve price, which, like I said, charges a fee, and how long you want the auction to last. Now, if you want, you can list items as both an auction and a buy it now. But as soon as the bidding starts in the auction, then the buy it now isn't available anymore. And once the bidding starts, you are committed to selling to the highest bidder. So, you know, if you put an item up for auction, you better be okay with the fact that somebody only went as high as $10 on that item if you didn't set a reserve price. I'm gonna go ahead and toggle auction off and show you buy it now. Maybe I do want to allow, so here, I'll let people buy it for $20, but I'm willing to listen to offers $15 and up. Okay. Then we go down to shipping, and you'll want to have your item kind of packaged before you list it on eBay. You want to have it boxed. You'll want to have it, you know, all the peanuts and stuff in there, because in order to figure out shipping, you need to have the weight and the size all figured out so that you can come up with a shipping range. I'm going to hit change with shipping, and that will let me put the stuff in. Now, if I want, I could offer free shipping, which is sometimes worth it. If you have, you know, a small item and it's you can sell it on one of the, you can ship it in one of the free boxes or envelopes that you get from the postal service with a set amount. Maybe you want to do it as free shipping, in which case you would pay for it. But most of the time, it will be buyer pays shipping, and you'll have weighed the item, 4 pounds, 3 ounces, You'll know the size of the package. 6 by 5 by, oops, 3. eBay will give you a recommendation for shipping service, and I actually don't mind their recommendations most of the time. And in this case, U.S. Postal Service Priority Mail between $10.60 and $27.20. You're shipping it to someone in Chicagoland, it's probably closer to $10.60. You're shipping it to somebody in Maine, Oregon, it's probably closer to $27. Now, the people bidding or buying this item will only see the shipping that applies to them. So the person in Maine will see that it will cost $25 to ship to them, whereas the person in Chicago will see it costs $10 to ship it to them. They don't see that whole range. But you as a seller might want to look at changing the shipping service, or maybe for whatever reason you just prefer using UPS or something like this. And you'll see here a lot of options: UPS ground, FedEx ground, all that type of stuff. And this is what I'm talking about: priority mail flat envelopes, in which case it's a set amount no matter where it goes. So you can go ahead and pick one of those up and then just offer that. But those are all out there as shipping options for you. There is an option for local pickup if you're interested. And at that point, you'll go ahead and you'll list it. And depending on which type of format it is, it will stay up for 7 days. And hopefully somebody will bid it to the top, or it will sell, at some point. So what kind of questions do you have about eBay before I move on? You can put them in the chat room if you're interested. Another option, if you want, I'll go ahead and let you unmute yourselves at the end of the class, and you'd prefer to talk your question rather than type your question. We can always come back to it. I'm gonna go ahead. I'll go ahead and move on. If I see anything pop up there, I'll pause myself. I'll hit on a couple other things about eBay probably as we're talking some of these other services. Okay, so Craigslist, our old buddies Craigslist. This is really for getting local people. Now, the way Craigslist works, there are Craigslist in every part of the country, every kind of metro area. And in the case of Craigslist, so there'll be a Houston Craigslist, houston.craigslist.com. There'll be a San Francisco.craigslist.com. There's Chicago.craigslist.com. I'm assuming I have to say this is a little bit embarrassing. I know somebody who lives in Sycamore, and he drives. I live in Skokie, and he works in Morton Grove. And he drives all the way out here every day, but I'm assuming that Sycamore is going to be the Chicago Craigslist, even though you're fairly far out there. But you can, I guess, confirm that on your own. Now, you don't need to have an account in order to list on Craigslist. And by the way, you can, I'm mentioning these other towns because in theory, if you wanted to list something on Houston's Craigslist because you have stuff there or you have family there or something like that, you could go ahead and do that on their Craigslist. But typically you're selling it to people within a certain distance from Sycamore, from where you are. It's free to list items on Craigslist. They're listed for, basically the items are fed up in the order of when they were listed, and then they keep getting pushed down by newer items. So they'll last for 7 days, but you can renew them after 48 hours, meaning after a couple of days have passed, you go in, renew your listing, and it pops back up to the top of that list. So a good way to kind of keep it looking fresh. But after 4 weeks, your listing ends up being removed. It has other stuff on it as well, discussion boards, things like that. This really is kind of one of the local classifieds option, I think. I'm going to go ahead and go to Craigslist. It's much more casual than eBay. It's always been very casual. They don't have any way of paying people through Craigslist. It's all person to person. And actually, since I'm bringing it up, person to person and cash or Venmo or PayPal or Zelle. One of those are the only things that you should be accepting. I'm going to let's look for some items that are for sale. Let's look for boats. I always like looking for boats because I don't know anything about boats. And when you're looking for boats as a buyer, you can limit how far you're looking because maybe you don't want to haul that boat from the middle of nowhere, or maybe you want to look farther away so you have more options. But in my case, I can do it 10 miles from 60076. And then I'm getting boats in near where I live, Skokie and Chicago, things like that. Then from a buyer's perspective, let's say I'm interested in this Javelin sailboat. I can click on it. It'll give me some information about it. In this case, the person put up a bunch of pictures, which is nice. Big description, they did a good job, bunch of good information. If as a buyer, what I would do if I wanted to see this boat or make them an offer, it's $3,000, whatever, I can hit reply. Oh, and it's always fun to do this on Craigslist because they always make me do a CAPTCHA in front of you guys. So let's see what this looks like. There we go. Each item containing a motorcycle. How about that, and that, and that, and that. Each image containing a motorcycle. Do you see anything else with a motorcycle in it? No one has one. Okay. So in this case, the contact's name is Dave. You don't have to show your phone number. They give you that as an option. Most people will just give an option to contact by email. And I'll show you why. When I click show email, you get this long, wacky email with letters and numbers at sale.craigslist.org. So it doesn't actually show your real email as a seller. It kind of hides you. And then if I was to go ahead and email this person, say, oh, that boat looks great, I'd love to see it, let's work out a time. Then the person on the other end would get this email at their real email, but I wouldn't know what that email is. It would show up, it would happen over this fake email. Some people will list phone numbers because they don't mind listing cell phones and dealing with it that way. So that is an option for you, but you don't have to do that. So in that case, what I would do is I would send them an email. I would say, this boat looks great. I would love to see it in person. Can we get together? Yada, yada. Go together. And I take a look at the boat, make them an offer. Maybe they accept it. And it's cash or one of these other services. You never checks on Craigslist because there's just too many scammers. Oh, wow, that's weird. I just noticed it brought me to the Milwaukee Craigslist for some reason. Nothing against Milwaukee, but let's do Chicago Craigslist. I think I know why I did that, but don't worry about that. So here I am in Chicago's Craigslist. So I'm going to go ahead and list my own item. I'll create a posting. Where am I located? I am North Chicagoland. Oops, I didn't mean to. No, that's fine. Did I click on the right thing? I did that too fast. I'm sorry. For sale by owner here. Type of thing. A couple of these will charge you. Cars and trucks, for example. I'll go ahead and sell a computer. Some of these things are required. If they're green, they're required. Dell 1985, Windows, XP, I don't know. Price, it's vintage. Let's give it $2,000. General postal code, you don't have to put in your address. Look at this beautiful Windows machine, exclamation point. It asks for details down here. Not all of these are required. The ones that are green are required. I'm just going to ignore this for now. Ask for my email, but the person on the other end won't get my actual email. I'll get emails from them to this email, but it will use their mail relay is what they call it, where they get that fake email. If I want to, I can include my phone number. Say continue. This is kind of a goofy feature where they just kind of show the general area that I'm located. I'm going to ignore, I'll hit continue. Add images. Let's throw up some of these images. And this is what it will look like. It is, really an ugly website. Even these fonts, terrible. When somebody's interested in it, we'll hit reply. I'll get an email from them. I'll respond to them. So as I had mentioned earlier before, one of the problems with Craigslist is it has a reputation for both scammers and flakes. So, the most harmless of these are flaky people, which is annoying. I had helped a client of mine kind of get rid of his business, his old computers and things like that. He was liquidating a business, and I would put them out on Craigslist and get some interest and show up at 2 o'clock to try to sell it to these people, and the people would never show up, so they would flake out. So that's kind of annoying. It's one of the things about people being hidden behind this kind of being hidden behind a fake email, things like that. Even worse is somebody who shows up with checks, because if people want to pay you with a check, especially something like a cashier's check, then they'll either be stolen or fake, or there won't be money behind them. So Craigslist says no matter what, don't accept checks. There's even like a well-known scam where somebody says, "Oh, I want that thing you're selling. I'll pay you even more than you're asking, and just hold it for me." And they'll show up with a check for a couple $100 more than you wanted, than you were asking for it. Turns out it's a scam. So all of them, it's either cash or one of those electronic ones. And then the other one that people are kind of worried about for good reason is somebody shows up, they pull a gun, and they take the thing that you're selling and take off, and you have no way of tracking them. So I know that what a lot of towns have done are set up kind of Craigslist and eBay zones at the local police station, at the local village hall, where you go and you meet them there rather than bringing people to your home and doing it that way. So that's always a good idea. Bring people to these places, or bring them to a public parking lot that has cameras, that type of stuff. Meet them there. You can't always do that. If you're selling, I sold a bed and I sold a media console. It would be awfully hard to go to the parking lot of a Target and bring my bed in the back of my van or whatever. But and there are other things I would prefer for selling those types of things. But if you're selling on Craigslist, it's a good idea to look into those options to kind of avoid scammers and to keep it safe. So any questions about Craigslist before I move on? You guys are easy. It must be the heat. Everybody's relaxed off of a weekend. I just spent a week and a half driving through Pennsylvania and Ohio, so I know I'm relaxed. Actually, it wasn't that relaxing to do that. It's nice to stop at hotels for a few days, but not necessarily drive. All right, let's talk about Facebook. Like I said, you do have to be a member of Facebook in order to sell on Facebook. Now, Facebook has a number of different options that I'm going to outline for you. Marketplace is kind of the main one, and Marketplace is essentially a Craigslist competitor. It's essentially for selling to your neighbors, but they've expanded it to offer shipping. And so now you're starting to see a lot of stuff on Marketplace that offers shipping. Now, and for selling stuff local, it's free. If you're going to sell it with shipping, then there's a 5% fee, which is much cheaper than eBay. Now, they don't offer shipping for everything, and they don't offer for everyone. And to be honest, I've kind of tried to test it a couple of times, because for these classes, namely, I've sold stuff on Facebook. I've never offered shipping, and I've always found it hard to kick in. And I don't think that Facebook necessarily has the mechanisms to handle kind of complaints and things like that. So I don't necessarily love the shipping option on Facebook, but I definitely do like the sell locally option on Facebook. You can do this from the website, you can do this from the app, and the way it works, you put something up on Marketplace, and if somebody's interested in it, they use Facebook Messenger to ask you about it and to do the deal. So Messenger is available as an app on your phone. It's available in the lower right-hand corner on the website, and you'll just have something popping up saying, "Oh, I'm interested in that bed that you're selling. Can we arrange this?" Now, also available on Facebook are what are called buy and sell groups. And on Facebook, you join interest groups, and these are interest groups dedicated to buying and selling, and they'll be around really specific things. So I'm in a Blu-ray and DVD buying and selling group, which is the place where I'll often go. And since it's free, I'll list items there, and I don't have to pay eBay their cut in order if I go ahead and get in front of the people who are interested in these types of things. Or if you're a collector, if you collect antique whatever, Barbies or GI Joes or any of that type of stuff, you can join a group that's for buying and selling GI Joes and buying and selling Barbies, and that way you get in front of the actual people who are interested in this stuff. So a lot of really good options on Facebook. It's where I've been doing a majority of my selling lately. Let's look at Facebook. Once again, available on the app or from the website. Ooh, I don't know why I'm there already. Hold on. On the left here, you see Marketplace. On the app, it will be down towards the bottom. It'll look like a little storefront. I'll click Marketplace, and you'll see that it is a similar look to something like Craigslist. They'll suggest stuff that when you go into Marketplace with the stuff that they think you're interested in, if you want to buy it. And I'll show you. Well, here's a toy, for example, from Chicago. I'll click on that Green Lantern toy, and give me a bunch of information about it. If I'm interested in this item, then I will send this person a message and say, I'd love to hear more about that toy or work it out. One nice thing about using Facebook for these deals is that you can potentially get some information about the people that you're interacting with. Now, as a person on Facebook, you can lock down your account so that you're mostly so that unless somebody's friends with you, they can't see any information about you. The only thing that people can see about everyone on Facebook is your profile photo, and you don't have to have one, and background photo as well. But not everybody does this, which is nice. So if I wanted to interact with Jen Stern, I could see, for example, that they joined Facebook in 2010. So I know they've been on Facebook for 11 years. I can click on their name and see some photos about them. They look like they've got a nice family, and they've listed other stuff in Marketplace as well. This is what it tells me. I can actually go ahead and view their entire profile. You know, I can do a little bit of investigative reporting, a nurse, and a bunch of information about them. Once again, you as a seller, you don't have to make this stuff public. This person has chosen to do it, but when you're going in and kind of interacting with people online, if you're nervous about it, you can do a little bit of investigation before you actually invite them to your house or offer them money for things. You know, maybe you don't like the way somebody looks, so you don't want to interact with them. So that is one kind of nice thing about Facebook, although you should lock down your privacy as a seller as much as you can, which is pretty much all the way. So I can search for items, you know, in this case, I'm searching for things within 10 miles of Skokie. I'll put in couch. Now, some of these you see, they're listed as ships to you. That was what I was talking about, where they'll ship from somewhere, but really I like it for a local one. This one's in Chicago. A lot of ships to you. This one's in Chicago, things like that. This one's in Evanston. This is very similar to the one I'm gonna list. They listed it for $1. Huh, okay. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and create a new listing. And I'm going to list an item for sale. And then it's as simple as filling out a form, adding photos. Putting in a title, price, category, all these types of things. Yeah, fill out the form. One thing you can do, by the way, if you're a member of these interest groups that I was just talking about, is also have them go to these buy and sell groups when you publish it here, if you want. Then list that item there, and it will show up in Marketplace for everybody who's looking for it. Now, I also like these groups that are out there. A couple of main things that you want to look at. One is what are called garage sale groups. Let's see if there's a Sycamore garage sale group. Go ahead and search for Sycamore garage sale. I'll look in groups. There you go. There's a group, DeKalb and Sycamore area garage sale. You do need to ask to join, but it's got almost 22,000 members. And the idea behind these groups is that if you can list individual items that you're selling, or if you're having an actual garage sale, a lot of people go in and list photos of the garage sale. Say, I've got this garage sale coming up. Here's a bunch of the stuff I'll be selling, and so people can see it before they go. So that's a nice option. You need to go in here and say join the group, and then they need to approve you. And then once you're approved, you're a member. And then, like I said, there are these interest groups out there as well. I'll just do antique toys. Antique toys. I'll search groups. Toys for sale. Vintage Toys, Buy or Sell, Antique Toy Collectors of America. So a lot of different, and a lot, yeah, I just put antique toys. I mean, they're probably different. Here, Chicagoland toys. They're probably specific. I know there are specific ones. Here we go. GI Joe's collectors. I've seen Barbie ones for just the oldest Barbies, things like that. So you can go ahead and join these groups. Once again, you do have to ask to join. And the whole purpose of it's not the case of all groups, but the buy and sell groups, the whole purpose is buying and selling. So you're getting stuff in front of other collectors. All the money transition happens through something like Venmo or Zelle or things like that. And it's all very casual. You're kind of communicating by messenger through other people. Occasionally there are scammers in the groups and they get called out, but typically people in these groups are people who are in these groups because they're interested in these things. So you'll message them back and forth and go ahead and accept the money. I'm about to move on to the next one. If anyone has any questions about Facebook, please do put it up. Sorry, the bad news is you'll have to join Facebook. Another nice, very local option, and you'll have to double check that this is around you, because one of the strengths of it, but one of the issues is it's not everywhere. I'm guessing it's around you, but it's called Nextdoor, and this is a very local Facebook, essentially, and you have to prove your address in order to be a member of it. So they'll send you a card, and you mail the card in, and you prove your address that way. They have other ways of proving your address as well. And the nice thing about that is the people that you're interacting with are truly in your neighborhood. So in my case, they do have, okay, so Sam said that you do have Nextdoor there in Signal. Okay, good, thanks, Sam. Somebody is pointing out that they would have to set up with Zelle or Venmo. Sometimes people don't show up. Typically what I would do in that type of thing, I wouldn't be paying them until they're actually there and the deal is going through. So, I can say a couple words about Zelle and Venmo. At this point, Zelle is mostly handled through your bank. So your bank will say use Zelle, and you just you set up your Zelle account through your bank, and you get somebody else's phone number, email, and you send it that way. Venmo is free to set up. Venmo and PayPal PayPal owns Venmo. It's the same company. So same type of thing, giving people money. It's free to set up, free to use. You just send people money through Venmo. They're all kind of competing in this space right now, PayPal, Zelle, and Venmo, and I don't really have a strong preference. I see it as an age thing. I say oldest is Zelle, and then next is PayPal. And PayPal also has the advantages of working with a lot of businesses. And then Venmo is younger, and there are other ones out there as well. But yeah, you would have to set up an account with one of them in order to use it. But I certainly wouldn't do the money through it until you actually were face to face with the person. So anyway, Nextdoor, the way it works, at least in Skokie, for example, Skokie is divided up into a bunch of different smaller neighborhoods. Like mainly, we have 5 different school districts here for some insane reason. But I can interact with just my own school district. I can interact with all of Skokie. I can interact with Skokie and Evanston and Lincolnwood. So you've got these very local options, but they're still very local. So like I said, I was getting rid of all these art supplies, and I decided to just give them away. A lot of giveaways on Nextdoor. And I went basically to a very limited part of Skokie, my school district. I said, if anybody wants these art supplies, come pick them up at my house. And people message me through Nextdoor, and I put them out there. I have, what was I going to sell? I have something that I'm going to sell. I know. Oh, the couch. That's right. So I was thinking of listing my couch either on Nextdoor. I haven't decided whether I'm going to do it Nextdoor or Facebook. And it's, I once again put out on Nextdoor. I can say just my general area, Skokie, and those few other suburbs that I named, and get a little wider exposure. But still, people are going to be willing to drive 5 miles, maybe 10 miles to pick up a couch. Not much farther than that. It is free to use. But once again, the real strength of Nextdoor is kind of this security that people feel in that everybody's address is verified. It's good for local news and things like that. If you ever you probably have more coyotes than us, but we do get coyotes, and I hear about them on Nextdoor. Good for recommendations too. You're looking for a plumber, go on Nextdoor and ask people for a plumber. So here, I went in. One of the first things I got, Gail. She's in my school district, very local, and she has all these sets of glasses for sale. And there's other stuff in here as well. So somebody lost their dog and on the lookout for it. And somebody was talking about it. By the way, the new Skokie library is very nice. So if anybody ever makes their way to Skokie, you should check it out. I'm going to go ahead and now. It drives me crazy. They changed the name. They don't call it selling anymore. This is the dumbest thing. They call it fines. Anybody's supposed to know what that means. Anyway, you go into fines, you can see things that are for sale. Same type of thing. You click on them, send people a message through Craigslist. I'm going to go ahead and post a listing. Fines. Here they say that what it means: for sale and free. How big an area do I want it to go? My little local neighborhood, which is just my school district, or I can choose a bunch of different neighborhoods, my school district, other school district, then your broader local area. And they don't define what that is. I think I've seen in mine, it's gone up to like Glenview and parts of Chicago, things like that, probably 5-10 miles, something like that. Choose a category, title, a price, description, add a photo, and it'll just stay up on Nextdoor for your local neighbors to see. So I really like that it's kind of a local option for I use Nextdoor a lot for kind of giving away free stuff, and I use Facebook more for selling, I think. But just get a little more exposure on Facebook. But Nextdoor is probably decent for local selling as well. So go to nextdoor.com if you're interested, and they'll give you a couple different ways to confirm your address. Now, I do feel obliged to bring up Amazon, but I always feel a little guilty because I always tell people not to use it. And I will say one nice thing about Amazon is they have a catalog up there. So if you sell an item that's in their catalog as an individual person, it's easy way for people to find it. It's listed on Google. So if people are searching for an item on Google and it's in Amazon's catalog, then it can show up for them. So, Amazon is Amazon. Amazon is huge. A lot of people don't like dealing with Amazon. They don't find it very kind of individual seller friendly. A lot of fees, confusing fees, different for all kinds of stuff, very competitive. So in most cases, I say avoid it. But if it's in their catalog, you could consider, and you've got something fairly rare, there are certain CDs that are out of print once again, and I've considered selling them on Amazon because they're listed in the catalog, and then you can get people looking for that CD in Amazon and can show up on Google. Some other options that are available. So you may have used Etsy. Etsy is kind of a crafty website, a lot of kind of handmade stuff. It also has vintage clothing, things like that. A lot of kind of small stores on Etsy. Like I bought a cover for I'd worn through my armrest of my car, and I bought a cover for it that was, you tell them what kind of car it is, what kind of fabric it is, and they'll make a custom cover for you. But they'll also do individual sellers on Etsy if you have something that's vintage or craft or something crafty, a piece of art or something that you want to get rid of. It does cost a list 20 cents for listing, and then there's a transaction fee when somebody buys it from you. Now, Ruby Lane is one that I haven't used myself because they're kind of niche. They do antiques, collectibles and fine arts, basically vintage type stuff, jewelry, all that type of stuff. With my usual caveats, you do need to be careful with that stuff. But if you do have antique people, people looking for antiques, then you may want to consider that. Now, Bonanza and OfferUp are a couple of the competitors for eBay and Craigslist. Bonanza is essentially an eBay competitor, but it's a little bit easier to use supposedly, and it's a little bit cheaper. Now, you may not have the same audience. I will say both of these I think are kind of more millennial targeted, and that they're very app-based, and the way you interact with them may be more millennial targeted. OfferUp, there was another one called Let Go, and OfferUp merged with Let Go. So if you've heard of Let Go, it's actually part of OfferUp, and that has both a local kind of Craigslist component and local kind of Craigslist component, and it has a shipping component that you can sell other places. It's free for the local selling, and it costs money to sell it so that you ship it. Kind of looks like Pinterest. Those of you who have looked at that before. Now, one nice thing they have is an identity confirmation system. So the people you're interacting with have like shown their driver's license to the website, and they are who they say they are. That might be another reason to look at it. Shopify is more for setting up small stores. I just bring it here because occasionally I'll have people at these classes who are interested in doing that. If you are going to put something online in order to sell it, Shopify, like an actual store online in order to sell it, Shopify's business is that. For clothing and luxury goods, a few of the kind of big ones that people have heard of are ThredUp, Poshmark, and The RealReal. ThredUp is consignment. The way it works is you have a bunch of old children's clothes, you throw them in a bag, you send them to ThredUp. ThredUp sells them for you. Then what they don't sell, they donate. I had mixed success with it. They sold some of our stuff. We made a little money off of it, but they also donated a bunch of stuff, which I would have preferred to donate myself and get the tax write-off. Poshmark is nice clothes that you can sell online. The RealReal is luxury goods. That one is also consignment. That one, you're getting rid of that Gucci or Tiffany stuff. You can go ahead and sell it in The RealReal, and they verify that things actually are real. A couple other niche things, StubHub for selling tickets. It's an easy automated way for people to get your Bears tickets or music tickets, things like that. Auto Trader for selling cars. Swappa and Gazelle are both good for phones and computers. Gazelle is phones specifically. So if you want to, a lot of these kind of iPhones that are a few years old are in demand because Apple doesn't necessarily sell them beyond a certain point. So if you've got one in good shape, Gazelle sends you a box and you ship it to Gazelle, and then they pay you a certain amount for it. So I'm going to wrap it up with some general selling tips. First of all, like I said many times, include lots of pictures, point out flaws and features. You do want to make sure you include all the keywords that people might search for. I think of that kind of when I sell albums or LPs or vinyl or records, 4 words right there to describe the same thing. So might as well put them all in the description. Respond promptly to communications. You don't want people to ask you questions and then just not reply to them. Now, respond promptly. 3 days, I think, is a reasonable time to get stuff shipped. 3 business days. If something is preventing you from doing it, then that's fine, that's life, but you may want to communicate with the buyer that you're out of town for a few days. That just actually happened to me recently, where they contacted me on a Saturday. I was going on vacation the next day, actually on a Monday. There was no way I was going to get it out, but I contacted them. I said, it'll be 5 days before I can send it to you. Now, you do want to overpack these things so that nothing happens to them. You could bring them to the UPS store and have a pro do it, which is not a bad idea for very breakable things, but that will cost money. On Craigslist, Facebook, and Nextdoor, you are expected to go in and say that this item is sold once it's actually sold. So otherwise, you'll keep getting contacted by people, and it's better to mark them as being sold. Cash, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, other than eBay, where you don't have to worry about that stuff. We already kind of talked about meeting somewhere safe and using the built-in email service. Although at a certain point, if you're using the built-in contacting service, you may actually want to ask for the person's phone number in order to do direct communications. Now, most of this stuff, when you use it, when you sell it on eBay, it will, and actually most services in general, they come with tracking. A couple of them, no, most of them come with tracking. So once it's out of your hands, the other person gets that's built into eBay or one of these other ones. You can just send them the tracking number, and people will know exactly where the item is at any time. Now, in theory, you can require signature, and that can cost extra money. Now, the thing about requiring signatures, that's a service that most people just don't like, because if you're not home and they show up at your door, you have to go to the post office and sign for it, and it's all a pain. So overall, it's not something that most people recommend, but if you really want to make sure that gets to them, you can require a signature. Now, shipping assurance for most of these things is included up to a certain level. And priority mail, there's $50 of insurance included. UPS and eBay, or UPS and FedEx, offer $100 of shipping insurance. You can pay for more if you want. Now, eBay actually has their own shipping insurance. Postal Service has their own shipping service. Ugh, boy, can't talk. Losing my ability to talk. The Postal Service has its own shipping insurance, but eBay also has something called Ship Cover that they offer, which supposedly is easier to use than the Postal Service's version. I've never had to do it, fortunately, but you can pay a couple bucks more for extra shipping insurance. And actually, also some of the stuff you ship, shipping insurance isn't included. Sometimes I'll buy it. So if I sell something by media mail, ship it by media mail, shipping insurance isn't included in that. And sometimes I'll go ahead and pay for it in those cases. So those are options for you. And you should take detailed pictures of the sold item, of a sold item, in order for people to see that this thing was, like I said, it was packed really well. This is what it looked like when I mailed it to you. Now I do have one question in the room. Can I show you how to download a picture? Not sure that not sure exactly what you're getting at, Mary. Downloading a picture. I mean, there are a lot of different ways to do it. I think if you're talking about having a picture of an item that you're listing, there are multiple ways to do it. I probably can't really go into that much detail in this class. The library actually probably can show you how to do this. But depending on what you're using, you could use your phone in order to do it. And then depending on how your phone is set up, it can either go directly into the app. There we go. Tech help with Eric. So that sounds like a perfect place for you. But depending on how you do it, you can either go use it directly through the app and have the app listed, or you can put it on your computer, which can be done multiple ways. So Mary, it kind of depends on your setup. But I think, yeah, meeting with Eric, looks like at the library, and having him show you basically how you can take it with your phone, which is probably how you're going to do it. And doing it that way might be the smartest way to do it. What other kinds of questions do you all have for me? Oh, you know what? I said I would let you unmute yourselves in case anybody can't or doesn't want to chat. You can ask something out loud. Sorry, I just changed that. Becky has a good summary of the class right in the chat room. eBay is confusing. Craigslist is scary. I'll have to use that.
I think that's funny. I found so many of my apartments on Craigslist when I was in undergrad. A lot has changed, and I really like all of your tips. I thought it was really interesting, Mike. I've sold a coffee table on Facebook Marketplace a couple years ago. I used a bunch of buy nothing groups. Yes, there's a lot of no-shows. I've used Nextdoor to get rid of giant moving boxes for free. Right, it was a win-win. Their kid got a cardboard fort. They were out of my garage. I buy a lot on Poshmark. I don't know if you mentioned Poshmark. It's a used
I did on the extras. Sorry, go ahead.
So I love that. And what I like about a lot of these things too, you mentioned, Mike, these places, if you did sell your item and you shipped it, once you ship it, it not only notifies the buyer, but the buyer can then automatically track. So rather than just, me selling my little planner, going to USPS, getting tracking numbers, certain websites will allow you to print out the label there. The shipping's been prepaid, usually a minimum of $5 to $10 by the buyer. It may be a little bit more, but you'll have everything there. Like you just print it out and they've got the tracking. So they make it really easy nowadays. It might seem scary, but we're here, as you saw, even bring something in to Eric here. It's the second and fourth Saturdays, 10 to noon. Eric can even help you if you're like, how do I just finish sending this? Printing out labels. We have our printers at the library. We do color, we do black and white. So we're all here to help you with that as well.
Yeah, and the thing about eBay, like you mentioned, yeah, eBay is one of those things where, as I warn people, it can be a little bit pricey. But when you're talking about those automated things, that's their strength. They do that stuff really well. They've got it all built into the system. Okay, well, thanks, everybody. Have fun emptying out your house.